Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Martin.
Thank you.
Very nice to have you here.
When analyzing the portfolio of Scorsese, one can't help but wonder where he pulls his inspiration from. From his debut film, Who's That Knocking at My Door, to his most recent, The Irishman, his mob stories stem from an appreciation of early Hollywood, where the Western story was saturating the medium. Scorsese's style and portrayal of the mobster calls back to a love for the films that first inspired his childhood. First, we will take a look into his earliest piece, Who's That Knocking at My Door? The film follows the story of JR, a young man struggling to find his place in the world. JR is an up-and-coming mobster who dreams of a better life. His character is reminiscent of the cowboys of Western films, who often long for a better future. In one scene, the gang is roughhousing around, brandishing a pistol. The easiness and laughter of the group shows their desensitization to the weapon. It has become a part of their lives and is an extension of themselves, similar to cowboys and how the revolvers are a necessity. In a wasteland of lawlessness, protection is vital for survival. Their line of work calls for violence, so facing the end of a loaded gun has become a regular occurrence. In one scene in particular, JR meets the love interest. This is where we can see Martin's first homage to the Western genre. The entire scene within the ferry station begins with JR talking with her about John Ford's 1956 Western, The Searchers. I can imagine this is how a young Marty would converse with women about his favorite films.
The Searchers. It's a movie made about 11 years ago, and that picture of John Wayne is from that movie.
I don't seem to remember it.
Oh, you know, with John Wayne. Him to go, you know.
I don't remember it.
Well, I'll tell you, you missed a good picture.
Sorry.
While this film is not as Western as his others, it shows Martin's appreciation for the genre and will foreshadow his love for the film itself. Later on, we can notice a direct callback to this Western. Martin Scorsese's breakout film, Taxi Driver, is an homage to The Searchers, and its similarities are striking. Both films showcase a returning war veteran who has an overwhelming sense of loneliness. John Wayne's character is coming off of the American Civil War, while Travis is a returning Vietnam War veteran. In both films, the protagonist's only way to express emotion is through violence. That is why in the ending scene of Taxi Driver, our character is freed from his bonds of isolation and self-loathing. The shootout is a callback to the climactic ending of most Westerns. Both of these characters are obsessed with rescuing women. In The Searchers, John Wayne's character is devoted to rescuing his niece and will by any means. Travis Bickle becomes obsessed with Iris, an underage prostitute, and resorts to violence to save her. And like The Searchers, Taxi Driver's backdrop is dipped in racism, stoking the flames of Travis's violent nature. Goodfellas is one of Martin's most celebrated films. We are introduced to an underworld lifestyle which we are enchanted by. Like many Western films, Goodfellas is concerned with issues surrounding honor, loyalty, and betrayal. The characters within this film are in a constant struggle of finding the next big score, and over time, they eliminate those friends who would cause them problems in the future. In one scene in particular, Henry has been pinched for selling stolen cigarettes. Instead of ratting on his friends, he keeps his mouth shut and is rewarded for this, instilling the ideology of living a lawless life and having to deal with matters on your own without the aid of the law. A callback to cowboys and westerns taking the law into their own hands. What also makes this film stand out from the others is watching the slow decline of the mafia. We see it at its peak in the beginning, but as time goes on, it shows that life is no longer sustainable. Just like in westerns, when the frontier became more and more civilized and technology improved, cowboys and outlaws became less common. The need for them dwindled, and so that age of freedom slowly disappeared. It all comes to an end, and so Henry has no choice but to work with the people he swore to never help. And he assimilates himself into society in the end, becoming civilized himself. Scorsese has been a leader within the film industry. Even at his age, he is continuing to create films, and there doesn't seem to be an end in sight. It is important to look back into previous works from decades ago, just as Scorsese did himself. It creates a sense of appreciation and respect to those filmmakers before you, and also creates inspiration for your work in the future. Scorsese's inspiration stems from many things, but his mafia stories stem from his childhood, and also those Western films from his youth.